What's going on, guys? How are we doing today? Today's video is going to be solely based around Iden Versio. Right now in the game, there's a bunch of Empire, and more specifically, a lot of Troopers. So, what we're going to do first is let me pull it up in terms of the Trooper faction, and then we're going to go read some of the dev insights and some of her kit and what she's offering. So, as we can see here, there is 11 plus Iden will be 12 different Troopers. And it's interesting that she's coming out now because we recently just had Moff Gideon in terms of Troopers and also Dark. And Moff has I wouldn't say an awesome leadership. It's definitely very interesting in terms of what it can provide. But right now, Moff is not really used in leadership slots. He's either a part of like a fifth in a different team, like as like a plug-and-play character, or he's slotted in under the Veers lead. Oftentimes, you will see him as a fifth. You're not going to see him as, a leadership, or even really, in my GAC last whole season, I've not even really used him with Veers. He's been that random fifth in either a GL team to counter something, or on defense, or I just keep him around, and sometimes he doesn't get used. So, let's go talk about Iden Versio for a second. Let's go hop over to the dev insights. I saw this at work today. I'm like, wait, is this actually happening? And it actually is. So it's pretty cool. She's one of my favorite characters in Battlefront 2. She's based off of that character in Battlefront 2. It says that she has synergy with non-leaders and non-droid Imperial troopers. So just 1 second, let's go back in the game. What does that mean? Non-droids pretty much all besides Dark. It was very specific to not include Dark. He's missing a mod right now, but no Dark, so we don't want to be using Iden with Dark, and we're not going to be using any leads. So leads would include in this list of bounty or of troopers would be Piet, Moff Gideon, and Veers. Those three. Everybody else has no leadership, which allows for a lot still to be used. So let's go back into the dev insight. Great against rebel teams. I'm going to go into a little bit here why I feel like she's going to be great, especially in GAC. She does have an Omicron for GAC, which is amazing. But, yeah, this is a character off of Battlefront 2, the video game. I love that game. And, yeah, she's going to be great in this one, too. So, as I just said, no droids, no leads. Definitely going to have some anti-rebel synergy. So, let's go into the kit reveal a little bit. I'm not going to read it word for word this time, but I'll just kind of get a look and get a feel for what it's going to provide for different teams out there. So, basic is take them down, and it says here that if there is no other leaders or rather no other allies that have leader tags, then she deals damage 2 more times. So 3 in total, which is really pretty good. She's also an attacker, so whatever her mastery is with relics, I'm sure she'll be dishing out a lot of damage. There is no reduction in terms of damage dealt in the basic. And then also, for each critical hit, she gets more max health and protection. This whole character's kit is screaming max banners in GAC. It's just screaming GAC. And that's one of the best things about a character that comes out these days is GAC. And is it going to be a worthwhile character to invest? And I think Iden is definitely going to be one to invest into. So next up is her first special. She has 2 specials. First one's a cooldown of 2, which is very, very low. It's going to be a bit of an AoE here. And then it's going to say here, it's going to inflict vulnerable, which is guaranteed crits for 2 turns. It dispels all buffs on target enemy and inflicts healing immunity, and it stuns them for a turn. And then it says these effects can't be resisted by rebel enemies. This special right here is one special I feel like is meant to counter Mon Mothmas. And just for a second here, the reason I want to talk about where she'll be used, at least in my GACs, once I get her built up the right way, is going to be used against those Kyle Katarn teams. Mon Mothma with Kyle Katarn, with POW, with HRS, the Scout, and also Cara Dune. That is one of the scarier teams in GAC. And I think this character with Iden and some more Empire is going to be very, very well and very perfect in terms of killing that team. More into that later. Let's go keep reading, though. So, rebel enemies can't resist those effects. And then also, it says this. If no other leader, or rather no other allies have leader, she calls all non-droid Imperial Troopers allies to assist. So, it's pretty much just like a Veers special here. And guess what? This is on a 2-turn cooldown. This is ridiculous. That's so much extra damage and hits going off. That's actually, I think, better than a Veers because it inflicts these different debuffs. So it's great. That's definitely better than Veers. Second special is a cooldown of 4 called We Can Grieve Later. This one has a cleanse. This one's ridiculous too. It says dispel all debuffs on the troopers, and then she gives herself 100% protection up, and other guys get 50% protection up. And then they actually recover 35% protection. So this is like a better version of Range Trooper. Very, very solid. Again, if there is no other leaders and also no other droids, she will grant other troopers this ability, or rather this buff called We Adapt or Die for 3 turns. It can be dispelled, but it can't be copied. And it says this, that they get, and they grant themselves a bit more critical chance, offense, speed, and then they can revive with 70% health when defeated. And then also, if dispelled, they recover 80% health, and they gain 80% TM, which can't be critically hit for 2 turns. So, ridiculous, right? This is crazy. I'll tell you why you want to use this one first, but let's keep on going because there's a big part to it. I'm actually going to skip the leadership and go right into the unique. It says here, this is the biggest part to her kit in my opinion. If no other allies have leadership tag, and all allies are non-droid Imperial troopers, Iden gets 100% TM at the start of the encounter. This is not even on an Omicron. This is for a Zeta, so this can be used even in TW. You guys remember how the Mara Jade Omicron was for the pretty much same thing? She gets 100% TM, right? It's the exact same thing, pretty much. 100% TM gain at the start of the encounter, and then it says, and whenever she is defeated, she revives with 100% health and protection if there is another trooper ally active. This unique is probably one of the best uniques I've seen in a long time. I gotta be honest, this is a ridiculous kit. I think this kit will provide so much for that entire faction. I can even see uses outside of just the troopers. So, great things there. And then the leadership right here, the last thing. I know I said I wouldn't read it word for word, but I mean, holy cow, this kit is good. It's an Omicron. I'm sure it's going to have a Zeta too before the Omicron, but here we go. It says it's going to give out troopers more crit chance, offense, and 35 speed. That is right there. That is one of the most ridiculous leads I've seen for a trooper team, because it can pretty much supercharge not only a new team, but it can even supercharge the old team with like some of those other troopers like the Range, the Dark, or not Dark, but like Death and all those guys. It's crazy good, right? Ideally, though, you want to be using a separate team, which we'll get into in a little bit. But here we go. You get all that extra stuff, and then it says here, at the start of the battle, if no other allies have the leader tag, whenever a non-droid ally, or non-droid trooper ally attacks out of turn, they gain 2% offense stacking until the end of the encounter. This is just screaming countering rebels and countering even other strong teams. I can almost guarantee you that we will see some counters to gases. With that extra speed gain and that stun you can get, this is going to be very strong, guys. And then on top of that, whenever they're attacking out of turn, they get that extra offense until the end of the encounter. I mean, heck, this might do some pretty cool stuff in raids. And then it says here they also get crit damage up for 2 turns at the start of the encounter, and they also have a 100% counter chance. And then it says while enemies are vulnerable, they have lowered speed, so it's kind of like a breach. So just think about it this way, guys. If you are using this team with Iden's lead, or she rather is the leadership, you're going to be getting, if you're not using any leaders besides herself and no non-droids, you will always be getting increased to offense, crit damage, and then also more counter chance, 100% counter chance. So it's crazy. On paper, this is really, really strong. And the cool thing about this character is that you don't really need to have her at super high gear, or even really with relics, because it provides 100% TM off the bat. You can give out some of these stats, and you have a little cleanser. I think you can easily see her being used at gear 11, 4 or 5 star for a long time. So it's awesome. And then also the Omicron in GAC, it says at the start of the battle, if there's no other leaders or blah blah blah, same thing, same clause we've seen and heard this entire kit reveal. And then it says trooper allies also gain more max health and protection. And then it says whenever an enemy attacks whenever an enemy attacks out of turn, trooper allies recover 20% health and protection, and they gain 10% TM. So I don't really find, in terms of this team, maybe it's going to be different in terms of GAC. Once people get this built and unlocked, I just don't see this as strong of an Omicron as other ones we've seen in the past. The TM gain might be nice, but this is reliant upon the enemy taking turns. I don't really think that's a very nice Omicron to have. I'm not a big fan of that personally. I know you do get a bit more of that TM and the extra health and recovery for protection, but I just don't find that super valuable long-term in a GAC format. Maybe I could be wrong, but anyways, everything else is really ridiculous here. So the last part of this video, guys, I want to go talk about is the team, the makeup, the composition. What will it be? Well, right now, in terms of Iden, we can't use leads or we can't use Dark Trooper. Pretty much, he is the only droid that is inside of this faction. So we can't use Dark, we can't use Moff, we can't use Piet, we can't use Veers. Well, guess what? Veers, Piet, Dark, sometimes Moff in a random 5th is already the best team for troopers right now. So for me, what I'm hoping to do is mod my Piet to be very fast, kill still Darth Revan teams, and that team would consist of Veers, Trooper, Piet, Stark, and then range. So for me, I would, either Stark or Death, I guess, or Stark or range. There's a lot of those 5ths you can slot in and out, guys. And then for a different team, I would have Iden leadership. I'd probably use Shore Trooper there, Stormtrooper there too. So 2 taunts, and then I'm going to probably be using a Snow or one of these other guys, either a Magma, a Death, or a Range, whichever one I'm not using pretty much for the other team with Veers lead. And there's going to be 12 characters, so you're going to have an additional 2 leftover troopers, one of which I would say is going to be Moff Gideon because I like him as that random 5th to slot in under a different team because he's so dang fast. And the other one, I don't know. I probably will go with either the Magma or the Snow in regards to whichever one I don't go with. I'm probably going to lean more towards Magma because I think Magma can offer a lot of cool things here on his AoE. Removes TM and even more TM possibly. So I think that's pretty strong. His basic can do more damage. And then, yeah, I just think it's a pretty cool little unique here. He gets a lot more TM gain opportunities as opposed to Snow. He only gives out a bit of TM to Empire allies whenever they get kills. I guess some more crit damage too. AoEs, though, I just don't quite think this is going to be it for that team with Iden. I'm not quite sure if that's going to provide a whole lot. Because in terms of the team for Iden, we're thinking about more people assisting, more people doing basics. And I just feel like Magma would provide a bit more in terms of that. And just the opportunity to grant himself a bit more TM. And also he gives out himself and to other troopers more tenacity, which is definitely nice. But you definitely, for the first team, in terms of the troopers, is going to be with Veers. For me, this is what I'm thinking, at least, is Veers, Stark, Range, and then we're looking at Piet, and then Dark. So that would mean that for the Iden team, we have Iden, we have Storm, we have Shore, and then we can either go with a Death or a Range or Stark, one of those 3. In this sense, I'm going to be thinking of Death Trooper, and then I'm going to be either using Snow or Magma. Between those 2, I'm not quite sure. I might go with Magma, we'll have to see, but I'm actually curious what you guys think between those 2. You can't use Moff there. Moff's not going to be a go-to in that team, so I'm curious what you guys would want to use. Also, maybe just don't use Snow or Magma, and then just keep Moff Gideon with that same team with the Veers. And then you can have the option of Stark and Death, or Stark, Death, and maybe the option of Range too. So a lot of stuff here, guys. I do think that Stark would be pretty nuts here with his basic because he inflicts defense down, and there's just more damage output, I feel like. And then also he has this little cool thing with the scan all wavelengths, more buffs. He has an AoE too, and then also one thing I like about him is that he can remove TM off of enemies. I think that's one of the cooler things. So Stark might be the go-to. Anyways, there's a lot to think about for that 5th slot in an Iden team, but for now, she will definitely be doing a lot of cool things, mainly to do with Kyle Katarn and countering some of those rebels. I can see that one. It just screamed countering Mon Mothma Kyle Katarns because Kyle gives himself extra TM bonuses, right, with his unique. So if you have a character like Iden that just gives herself 100% TM, well, that's going to go before Kyle Katarn, right? To make that just super, super easy in terms of countering one of those teams in GAC. So that's about it for today, guys. I just want to go over some of the kit, maybe all of the kit, and give you my initial insights. This is probably going to be a must-have for GAC. So if you guys are looking forward to this character and this team, get ready to build it up. Build up some of your troopers. Right now, if you guys are not even going to go and bother with Iden, still build the Storm and still work towards Shore, because those are two great taunts to have in the game, especially with Lord Vader right now. And then for that, other slot, just hold off for a bit. Let some people test what the best 5th is, Snow or Magma, and then go from there. But right now, definitely going to be very viable in GAC and even in TW. So that's about it, guys. My thoughts about her. She is great. I cannot wait to get her unlocked, even at a marquee level or a 3-star level, gear level 9 or 10 or 11, whatever it is. I think she'll be very, very good. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. And until next time, I will see you later. Peace out and bye. See you guys.